Welcome back to the Means Report. We appreciate you staying with us, and we really appreciate the presence of Rick Osbon. He recently elected to be the brand new mayor of Aiken, South Carolina, and he is going to be sworn in Monday. So in just hours, he'll be officially the mayor of Aiken, the all-America city. And Mayor-elect Rick Osbon, thank you for coming over to Augusta today and being with us on the Means Report.
It's my pleasure, Brad. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's just our pleasure, and there are not a lot of mayors in Aiken, period, so this must just be a thrill. You're like the third ever,
Well,
sort of.
in most people's lifetime,
in
most
modern
people's
history.
lifetime, right? It's Mayor Weeks was there for 40 years, and Mayor Kavanaugh, who I'm following, was there for it'll be 24 years. So, yeah, it's I'd say every quarter of a century, maybe. Yeah.
What are you going to try to do? Keep things going in Aiken, status quo, or can we just look for big booming growth in the future? You need to fix traffic. Yes, I know that, but what
Right.
what is your main goal?
There are so many positive things in Aiken, so it's certainly, as mayor, is a great gig to have, because you get to speak about all the great things. But there are certainly things that we can work on and improve. And during the campaign, those were the things we talked an awful lot about. We're actually I've already sent out letters, mayor-elect, that we're gathering information and putting people together in our community leaders to start a mission statement for the city. To work towards a strategic plan, and we're just excited about that. I mean, it's a new era. It's a new era in Aiken, and one thing that we talked an awful lot about in the campaign is Aiken's known for its charm, for the character that we have in our downtown area. If you've been there, that's our postcard. That's our first impression. So we don't want to change those things, but you can grow within those. It's not a mutually exclusive thing to say, hey, we want positive growth, but we still want to preserve that character and charm. So that's the direction that we're excited about moving forward with the city. So
maintain the things that Aiken is known and loved for, but would you like to see more companies come there and improve life for the businesses like yours that exist already?
Sure. I mean, one thing about Aiken is that Chamber of Commerce had done a report that basically said what a lot of us in small businesses knew anyway. I run a dry cleaners in Aiken, and that we were approaching a 0% growth, which we want to keep it up around that 2% if we can. So economic investment, the opportunities that we have to grow economic development is going to be important. Working with regional directors and of course our Department of Commerce to if there's going to be new businesses coming to South Carolina, we think that Aiken should be in the conversation, and I want to be the voice for that.
Well, your wife is no stranger to higher education, and I would submit that USC Aiken and Aiken Technical College would be key components of that growth. Can we get them involved in this?
They're amazing, and both of those institutions add so much to our community. USC Aiken, of course, ranked, I think, 11th time in a row as a number one by U.S. News and World Report for our region. Aiken Technical College has been working with years. People don't even understand the contribution that they make for Bridgestones and for companies when they come. They're with the training of the workforce. So absolutely, they'll be in the conversation.
And is that a big selling point? I heard a man talk about entrepreneurship recently, and he mentioned the intellectual capital that college students bring to the table, and that in many big companies' success stories are because of the ideas of college kids. Can a potential business come to y'all and say, look, we've got these two wonderful institutions here with all this intellectual capital, come join us?
Right. It certainly is a selling point, and as mayor, I look forward to having an opportunity to talk about those institutions. But as people get their degrees and their certificates from both Aiken Technical College and USC Aiken, you see so many of them having to leave our CSRA area because of the opportunities aren't here. And that's, as a father of three coming up, I want them to have an opportunity right here to use the skills that they acquire in the institutions of higher ed. So, yeah, we're certainly going to sell it, but also try to pull those jobs in so those young people will have opportunities to stay here, enjoy the life that we have here in the CSRA and in Aiken.
Well, with growth comes growing pains. What can you tell me about the efforts to control and improve traffic flow in Aiken?
Traffic is obviously something that we all know, and in every growing community, you're right, it's growing pains. There's been a lot of efforts with parallel roads in Aiken, in particular the south side. Aiken took a growth spurt that was different than most communities. Most towns and cities will grow towards an interstate. Well, we had something called SRS that drew people out to the south side of Aiken, which is away from the interstate. So it grew in a different direction than most cities do. And there are places where clearly when roads were put in, no one expected that there would be that type of traffic on them. And so there are those growing pains. But there have already been some efforts made in Aiken with parallel roads, other options, connector roads, and those projects have really helped pretty substantially. And I think you can look for more of those opportunities.
Have y'all figured out how high you want buildings to be?
I think we have at this point.
Yes.
It looks like 55 feet is where we are now.
55 is it? We jacked them up 5 feet?
We jacked them up 5 feet.
Got it.
And it gave an opportunity for a business owner in Aiken who wants to put a $10 million investment in his property in the hotel to have that opportunity. And it's going to be good for our downtown. It's very excited. The downtown business owners are certainly excited about what it will bring for them, and I think it's going to be a win.
You were not a huge fan of the hospitality tax. It's now been in existence for about 6 months or so.
Right.
What can you tell me about the revenue it's brought in, and are you a fan of
Sure.
it now?
I'm still not a fan of it, Brad. But yeah, there certainly has been money brought in for it, and as any government body, whenever there's money available, you find uses for it.
Yeah.
And I think the intentions behind it were fine. My problem with it was we already have a capital project sales tax, which goes on a ballot. It's a ballot initiative. It was passed. We already have a school tax on our sales tax, which is a ballot initiative, and it's going to fix our K through 12s and do some improvements in buildings and that. I just felt 2 cents is enough on sales tax. So I'm not a fan of it. I hope to work with council and find existing funds within our own budget to hopefully fund some of the projects that we're looking at, and I would still like to work with them to do away with the hospitality tax.
All right, I was going to ask you if its lifespan might be limited. Let me ask you this: as much as we talk about growing Aiken and how appealing it is to potential new businesses, you have become, without question, a retirement destination. And let me know how things are going on that front. People are flocking to Aiken when it's time for their golden years.
It is, and it's certainly for our housing market, it's helped sustain it. And Aiken has an awful lot to offer. And when we talk about retirees now, Brad, they're active retirees.
Yeah.
These are people who are bringing. We talk about intellectual capital, but they add so much for our nonprofit boards. I mean, there are a lot of people who retire who bring so much to the community. It makes Aiken a better place and a more unique. It's one of those unique characteristics that you can't necessarily put your finger on, but you know there's something to it. And you see our retirees active in so many things. It's good how they've just really contributed to it. I think there certainly is a push now that we want to see more millennials have opportunities to come in as well.
Sure.
But we don't want that sector to ever feel displaced or not welcome, because certainly they're an important part of what Aiken is.
Well, and the two can benefit from one another big
Absolutely.
time. One more question that's about
Sure.
education. I know officially it's not your role to manage the schools of Aiken and Aiken County, but what about your relationship with the people who do and your hopes for schools going forward?
Sure. We just it's a time of new beginnings for Aiken, because we have a new city manager, a new mayor, and a new school superintendent was just brought in. And I like the way that everyone is willing to think outside the box, and I've seen that with our new school superintendent also. We all participated in an aspirational city tour that a lot of leaders and just community involved people were a part of, and he was on that, and I look forward to the conversations that we'll have, because it certainly is an important part when you're asking people to come into your community.
The schools are.
Yeah, I mean, industry, they come around and look, and unfortunately, you don't get to necessarily drive the truck. They're gonna punch it in their GPS and go see where the schools are. So the caliber of our schools, but our teachers and our students, top notch. We're on the right track with it.
Well, I congratulate you on your election, your upcoming swearing in, and you're welcome here anytime. We're happy to have you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Mayor-elect Rick Osbon of the great city of Aiken, South Carolina.